Good morning friends, myself Vijay Bhushan Gupta. I am a professor in Civil Engineering Department of ABS Engineering College, Ghaziabad. Today's my lecture will be on contract management. Purpose of the lecture is to understand the detailed features of Indian Contract Act 1872, and the objective of the today's lecture will be, after my lecture the students will be able to understand contract and important sections of Indian Contract Act 1872, and second objective will be to formulate contracts carefully as per Indian Contract Act 1872. So these are the two objectives: to understand the features of the Contract Act and to draft the contract carefully. Now, what is contract management? Contract management, as you know, it is consisting of two words. One is the contract, another is the management. So to understand contract management, we have to understand the contract management. As we know, everyone knows that management is to manage the people most efficiently so that our work can be done. So now what is the contract? Contract is what is the contract and what are the main features of the contract act, that we will see. What is the contract? For understanding the contract, we have to understand the proposal and the promise. What is a proposal? Proposal is nothing but a offer. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Anybody who has accepted a offer, it becomes a promise. And a promise or a set of promises with consideration is an agreement. An agreement enforceable by law is a contract. So contract is nothing but an agreement which is enforceable by law. An agreement consists of promises or a set of promises for consideration. And what is a promise? Promise is nothing but proposals which is accepted. So that is the definition of the contract. A contract which ceases to be enforceable by law is a void contract. To understand the contract, we can take an example. Say milkman, he is giving a milk to our house daily. So he says that milkman says, okay, I will give you 1 kg milk at 40 rupees per kg, and the quality of the milk will be cow milk and with certain quality which you have tested and you have found okay. So that is a proposal, and you said, okay, you start giving daily from tomorrow onwards. So that becomes promise on the part of the milkman because you accepted his proposal. And then the milkman says, okay, I will charge 40 rupees a kg and you can pay monthly. So that is an agreement between you and the milkman to deliver the milk daily at your house at 40 rupees per kg. So what is the consideration for the milkman? That he will get the money. And what is the consideration for you? That you will get the milk supplied daily at your residence. So that is consideration for both sides. From your side, you get the milk delivery at your house per day, every day 1 kg and good quality. And for the milkman, he will get the money. So once you, this is the agreement between the two parties. Once you make it in writing, that is, intention is to make it enforceable by law, then it becomes a contract. So contract is nothing but an agreement which is written down, and both parties have listed down all the things, and it can be enforced by the rule of the law. So contract which ceases to be enforced by rule of the law is called a void contract. So therefore friends, contract management consists of two things. One is the promiser, another is the promisee. Promiser is the person who makes the promises, and promisee is the person or the another party who are accepting the promises. So accepting the promises are called promisee, and the person who is making the promise are called promiser. So they are reciprocal promises, means something promiser is saying, other thing promisee is saying, and consideration is there. That is what I said earlier. Consideration for the milkman will be the money, and for the residence it will be the supply of the milk at his residence. So there is a consideration for both sides. Now intention of the parties to make a contract, otherwise it's a social obligation or mutual consent. As I said, suppose milkman does not want to put it in writing, it's a social obligation or mutual consent. Okay, he will give the milk and we will give him the money. Promises which form the consideration or part of the consideration for each other are called reciprocal promises. Reciprocal promises means both sides promises are there. Like I am saying that I will give you the money after 1 month. So that is promise from my side. And the milkman who is saying that I will give the milk daily to you, 1 liter milk and good quality cow milk. So that is the promise by the milkman. So promises are both sides. Promiser is the person who is making promise, as I have earlier said, and promisee person who is accepting the proposal. So now we have understood the contract. A contract basically consists of an offer by one of the parties to render or perform the service or services for a consideration. Consideration is a must here because nobody is doing social service here. Otherwise it will be called social service. So for contract, there has to be consideration. An acceptance by the other party to get the service and its communication thereof. Suppose we have accepted the milkman offer, we have to tell him. And in contract, actually it has to be given in writing, because contract everything is in written. Thus, a contract is a set of reciprocal promises which are to be fulfilled for a consideration. This is the final definition of contract, which is nothing but a set of promises to be fulfilled by both the parties for some consideration. Now, what are the basic assumptions of contract law? Contract is based on mutual agreement or convergence of mind of contracting parties. That means both parties should understand what the other party wants. One party wants the milk, other party wants the money for a delivery of the quality of the milk. So, both parties are meeting their minds. Meeting their mind means both parties are understanding what they want. Contract arises only out of free will of the parties to the contract, and the law enforces only what the parties have bound themselves to. This means, suppose this milk case itself we take, there is no binding on the milkman to supply the milk. It is his free will that he says, okay, I will supply you the milk. Similarly, there is nothing binding on myself to take the milk from that milkman. So, both of us with free consent we are said, okay, we will enter into a contract, we will take the milk at this rate. So, law can neither make a contract for the parties nor unmake one which the parties have made. This means Contract Act says that whatever agreement you have drawn, that will remain final for both of you, and no, you can't add anything or you can subtract anything, or nobody can make the contract for you. So, whatever agreement is there, that is applicable for both of you. Then next is the promises shall be performed, and non-performance of the promises will give rise to legal consequences. This is very important, as contract is nothing but a set of reciprocal promises. So, promises have to be performed by both the parties, and any party which breaks the promise, it gives rise to legal consequences. Like in our milkman case, if suppose milkman is not supplying the desired quality of milk or the desired quantity of milk, you can say you have broken the promise, and suppose it is a written document and written agreement which is a contract, then you can take legal action also. You can file for compensation from the court of law. So, now contracts, which agreements are contract? An agreement is a contract if it follows, all agreements are contract if it follows free consent, means consent has to be free in the contract between competent party. That means from the party you are going to enter the contract, he should be competent to quote for it. Like milk I am wanting, so I have to consult the person who is having cows or who can deliver the milk, who has a dairy plant. We can't go to a shopkeeper and asking for a milk, as he does not have any dairy, unless until he is getting the supply from mother dairy or somebody, but otherwise you can't have a, from them. So, vegetable dealer, we can have a contract for vegetables. Similarly, milkman, we have the contract for the milk. So, that is called competent party. For lawful consideration means money is a lawful consideration. So, that is a lawful consideration. For lawful object, what is lawful object? Lawful object is that, you can't have a contract for say government building. You can't purchase a government building because government is the owner. Somebody's land you can't sell because it is not in your name. So, person only can sell the thing which is of his own. Like milkman, he is producing the milk, so he is selling it. So, that is lawful object. So, what is a consent? When two or more parties agree in the same thing upon the same sense, same thing, same sense, that is called a consent. Two parties are agreeing. That means milkman is agreeing to supply the milk and we are agreeing to pay the money for that particular quality. So, that is called consent actually. And consent is said to be free when it is not caused by coercion. Coercion means force. And undue influence means no outside support or nothing, no force on that. Fraud means there should not be any, suppose milk you are taking, he should not give us the powder milk or some other, fraudulent type of milk. He has to be pure milk. Similarly, misrepresentation of the fact. Misrepresentation of facts means if he is saying a cow milk, it has to be cow milk, it should not be buffalo milk or some other type of milk. So, that is called misrepresentation of fact. Whatever we are saying, we mean it. We should be sincere to that. And then mistake. Mistakes also, if it is there, then it won't be a valid contract because somebody was not knowing what is that and he is entering into the contract, then it is called a mistake. So, who is competent to contract? Which are the parties who can participate in the contract? A person who is a major and as per the law who can compete for the contract. A minor person is there, you can't enter into contract with them. And the person who is of a sound mind, that means a lunatic person or a mad person, we can't enter into a contract with him. And the third thing is that who is not disqualified from contracting by any law to which he or she is a subject. That means law has not debarred from him. Suppose law has said that so and so person will not supply the milk or he is debarred from supplying milk. You can't take milk from that person. So, that is the third thing, he is not disqualified. So, for successful management of a contract, attitude is very important. What is attitude? Attitude says that work is worship, follow ethics in contract management, every work is a new challenge. These are all ethics and attitudes. And what is the target? Target is nothing but quality and speed go together and achieve the goal keeping the customer satisfaction. Our target should not only be to deliver the milk at a good quality, but to keep the customer delight also into picture. That customer should be satisfied. Then what is the planning? Planning is if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So in the contract management, we must draft our contract document in such a way that ultimately we succeed in completing the work in a record time, in a record quality, and to the customer's delight. And of course, all this thing is possible with the right attitude. When attitude, as I have said, work is worship, every work is a new challenge, follow ethical principles. These are the attitude. So finally, to sum up, the golden alphabets are: A is for attitude, we should be always positive. B stands for boldness. In contract management, it always pays. You have to be bold, because if you are not bold, you can't take the decisions. Then C stands for coordination. Coordination always helps. One has to coordinate with all the people around to complete the work. Then D is the decisiveness. As I said, one has to give the decisions, and that also speeds are there. Speed means one has to give the decision quickly and timely. Otherwise, if decisions are delayed, it has no sense. Then E is for ego. Ego should not be there. That I have said that I should not be there. Contract is basically for completing the work, so that ego does not come into picture. Then F is for the feedback. Suppose any corrections and mistakes are there, so we must take the feedback, and we are prone to corrections also. If any corrections are there, we should do it. Then finally, G stands for group work. As a team, we have to work in the contract management. So contract is not between two people, but it is between the two sides. Two organizations can be there. So complete team work is required. Thank you. Thank you.